We were hoping that several candidates on the South Shore could attend, but of course they're all out canvassing. But we do have, I see one candidate, Mark Brioff, who is the NDP candidate for Lunenburg. And I believe we have regrets from Lisa Norman, who has an event in Bridgewater tonight, but her campaign manager's here. Also, besides our table, we have Fernwood Publishing has a book table. They're great friends of ours. They have an impressive selection of publications on Indigenous rights, so please take the opportunity to check their material. So I want to first introduce Robin Tress. Robin is the Atlantic Regional Organizer for the Council of Canadians, and she is one of the many settlers who are passionate about supporting the Alton Gas struggle, and so she's going to moderate tonight's event, and we're really happy that she's been moderating. She's been in several places already doing this kind of an event. So, welcome, Robin.
Great, thank you. My name is Robin. I live in Halifax, and I've been so honored to be moderating this tour that's been going around already. We've been to Halifax, Eskasoni, and last night we were in Sipekne'katik. It has been an absolute pleasure to be spreading the word about Alton Gas, all the reasons we should fight it, and how you can join. I'm going to start by giving a short presentation about what Alton Gas really is and the reasons that we are so against it, but I'm going to turn it mostly over to spend most of the time hearing from these folks who are dealing with and fighting these issues right on the ground and have a lot more eloquent things to say than I do. But first I'll tell you what the heck is Alton Gas anyway. Housekeeping thing, we're live streaming tonight, so hey everyone on the internet who's watching. When it comes time to do questions later, we will make sure that folks who are watching remotely can ask questions as well, and everyone in the crowd can just raise their hands. So, with that, let us begin. I'll go back 1 minute. I do, again, Marion already mentioned, but I do want to mention that I live and work on unceded Mi'kmaq territory, and I'm honored to be welcomed here and to share the stage with these people. And I think it's really important to mention this as a settler, to recognize the troubled relationship with which we work and where we try to work on environmental issues and environmental justice. It's really important to ground ourselves in this troubled history between settler and Indigenous people. I aspire to a future where we can live in the spirit of the treaties and in honor, mutual respect. And so I hope that this tour is part of the relationship building that's necessary to live in a future that's like that, and I hope we can all take that with us after tonight is over and carry that spirit forward with us. So with that, what's Alton Gas anyway? It's a bad idea. It's a really dumb project where this company called Alton Gas wants to drill, as you can see back there, they want to drill deep down, about 1 kilometer underground, into an existing salt deposit, and they want to put water down into that well so that they can dissolve away some of the salt that's down there. The plan right now is to create 2 caverns this way, although the original plan for the project said they might create 10 to 15 more almost immediately upon finishing the first 2. This process will create a ton of brine, so very salty water. It'll be about 8 times saltier than seawater. And then they plan to pipe that through farmers' fields and across prime land into the Sipekne'katik River. The plan is to dump that brine right down the river, and in this little mixing channel that you can see on the left side, the plan is that once they dump that, once the brine enters that mixing channel, the idea is that the tide would come up, it would all mix up, the salt would dilute and go down the river. However, almost immediately upon creating that channel, the river had other plans and filled it with 15 feet of mud, which I find is the most cosmic irony I've ever seen in my whole life, and is also causing a massive delay in the project. The original plan for the project was to be completed in 2010. It's now 7 years later, and they can't even get that salt out of the ground, so womp womp. Great news for us, though. Just to situate us a little bit, this map shows where the project is. So there's caverns in Alton or Brentwood, Nova Scotia. And they would pipe that brine about 10 kilometers to the edge of the Sipekne'katik River near Stewiacke, just for your minds. There are lots of reasons that this project is very silly, and I can talk for 5 hours, but I won't, so I'm going to focus only on 4 main issues: water, climate change and fracking, Indigenous rights, and everybody's rights. So Alton Gas, for one thing, threatens water at every stage of the project's existence. So to create the caverns, they're going to be creating brine, which has a major threat for the Sipekne'katik River. Once they put natural gas into these caverns, they'll be storing it at high pressures, about 108 atmospheres, so 108 times the pressure of air, deep underground, in a salt deposit that we don't even know is suitable to hold gas. There's not consensus. Different scientists have different ideas about whether or not the salt can actually contain gas. So there might be methane leaks into the groundwater, and we have no idea how that would play out. The last threat to water I mentioned is that there's a gas pipeline that would have to be built that would go from the cavern, that would take gas to and from the caverns. And the plan for that pipeline is to cross land dotted with old growth forests and wetlands. And in order to keep that pipeline, they would have to clear land on 20 meters, creating a huge scar of unvegetated land down the middle of wetlands, forests, and the Stewiacke River. So major threats to water all around. Something that has always been a major concern to me. Thank you. There. Yeah, major concern for me is always climate change because of the life-threatening impacts across the globe that climate change can have. And this project is a fossil fuel project. So right off the gut, it's a bad idea. We know that we can't be continuing to develop fossil fuel infrastructure.
Sorry.
Come on in. Do you need me to move this? Right, so right off the bat, fossil fuel infrastructure, we can't use them anymore. But this in particular hits home for anyone who's tried to fight fracking in Nova Scotia, because the current production of natural gas in Nova Scotia is not enough to fill these caverns. So we would either be importing fracked gas from elsewhere to fill them, or they would start fracking in Nova Scotia, and both of those things are also terrible. So yeah, it's incredible to me that this is even being considered. The consultation process to talk to Mi'kmaq people about this project has been shameful, and that's a nice way to say it. Sipekne'katik First Nation, I'm sure everyone here will talk a lot more about it, was never properly consulted with this project, which resulted in a long court case that just wrapped up in January, where the court said that the province had to go back and do more consultation with the community. However, I will say that negotiating on Nova Scotia's terms is not enough, because the negotiating relationship between the Nova Scotia government and the Mi'kmaq has strayed from the original intention of the treaty. What we do as consultation in Nova Scotia is we consult. It's a process. There's no commitment to the outcome. There's only the commitment to doing the consultation. But under the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and like if you use your brain, you'll know that free, prior, and informed consent is really what we should be after. And so even if Nova Scotia met all of its low standards for consultation, I would argue that wouldn't be enough, because we should be seeking consent from Indigenous peoples about how we use this land that we agreed to share under treaty. Beyond Sipekne'katik and the failures of consultation and consent, it's just hard to know what this project is, what the risks are, and get any information about it. There is a couple that lives a few hundred feet from one of the wellheads where they would drill a cavern. They didn't find out about the project until 6 years after it was approved by the government. So they were like laying pipelines before these people knew that 100 feet from their front door there was going to be a cavern. That is shameful. The types of things that we don't know about this project are incredible. Like, we don't know what type of salt formation it is, and we don't know if it will actually hold gas once they create caverns. We don't know if they ever studied the way that gas might escape from those caverns and the way that it would come to the surface, potentially through our water. They haven't released any emergency plans about what might happen if something goes wrong, and something's very likely to go wrong, as 65% of projects of this nature in North America have failed in serious ways, including fires, evacuations, all sorts of things. So yeah, we don't have any emergency plans, and the original proposal was to build 4 caverns, and since then they've canceled 2. So they're saying they're going to build 2 caverns now. They never gave us an answer about why they canceled those other 2 caverns to begin with. So that begs the question to me, if you canceled 2 and you won't answer our questions, why should we trust that the other 2 aren't bad ideas as well? The answer is I don't believe them. We shouldn't do this. So I think that this is a real example of why we need, for example, the Environmental Bill of Rights that has been much discussed and proposed to the government, which would give people access to information, access to justice, and all sorts of things that would help us make better decisions about the way that we use our resources. As we all know, Nova Scotia has a long history of accepting terrible resource projects and then not earning enough money from them to even start to deal with the impacts of them after they're done, and this is no different. Let's not joke about that. So even though this sounds dire, I think that we have a real opportunity to not only stop this project, but to make some major changes in the way that we deal with resources and community participation and decisions. So I think that if we stop this project, it would set an excellent precedent for protecting our water resources in the future from other stupid projects like this one. I think that to stop this project is to demonstrate to the government that they need to do a much better job on addressing climate change, and would demonstrate to the fracking industry, for example, that they're just not welcome here. We did it once, we'll do it again. I'm certain of that. I think that the way that we're doing this work is building very important relationships between Indigenous and settler people, which are critical for reconciliation, and together we can start building a future that is decolonized. And I hope that Michelle has lots to say about that. And again, I think this is a perfect example of why we need an Environmental Bill of Rights, and demonstrates so clearly why we need it, so I hope it will get us closer to getting there. So I don't have anything else to say. We'll come back at the end for questions, but for now I'm going to pass it to our speakers and take it away. So this is Alan Knockwood. He's an elder from Sipekne'katik First Nation and pipe carrier. Do you want this? Do you want me to do it?
You can go back to that one with the 4 pieces. Back to landing. That one. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. I know I take away from some precious time to listen to all this, but we do appreciate your presence. Now, I promised fire and brimstone. God, maybe I will. As you see up here, pick the landing. Here, here. Project started in the 1960s. The promise to the chief then was that the effluent coming from the factory to making paper would flow out to a spot that was so clean you could drink it. That's the promise he gave to that chief in Pictou Landing. They took the chief to a new construction site just outside of St. John. The area was filled with water. The guy said, "This is the kind of water you're going to get in Pictou Landing," and drank the glass of water out of this pond. They commissioned that sewage pond about 4 months later. And this is the legacy that Pictou Landing, Pictou County has been living with. These are the kinds of lies that they think they can get away with in trying to sell us a bill of goods about salt caverns being a safe alternative for storage of gas at 108 atmospheres. No one's made a definitive study as to whether or not the salt itself was impermeable. Cannot get the gas out of it. I can't say that word. Impermeable. Impermeable. I said it. Holy moly. It came right out of my mouth. Aglaciawic. No one's ever made a study to see if it can hold gas, let alone those pressures. Nor has anybody come up with a list of other minerals that are involved in taking out that salt. Other minerals always mix into the salt. Magnesium, zinc, sulfur, a whole gamut. Now, everybody's been focused on the salt brine. All right, that's dangerous enough, but no one's ever mentioned the other stuff that comes out of that thing. As my colleagues will tell you later on, there's been some scientific studies made about the species of fish going up and down that river. I'll tell you about that later on. Right now, right this very moment, we have bass running up the river. The best bass run ever in about 40 years. In a couple of weeks, Gasbro will be going the other direction. They said they'll stop putting brine in the water during their period of reproduction in August. I can't even read a calendar. They're doing that right now. This is one small item in the whole project. Talk about treaty consultation. The treaties as are written in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are treaties of friendship and peace. None of these treaties, not one treaty, has ever given up 1 acre of land. All of our treaties tell us and tell the British that we will no longer go to war. We don't go to war, you'll give us this. Blankets. A cow. No, I got ahead of myself with the cow. But blankets. Well, they gave us blankets, all right. Loaded with smallpox. Lord Amherst. Cornwallis. Not exactly your heroes that you should be so proud of. Trying to tell me they're heroes is like trying to tell a Jewish person that Hitler was a hero. Because in my eyes, they were the same thing. Now to come back and try to insult me with treaty consultation, or any consultation on that matter, doesn't wash. I didn't know about this project until last year, but it's supposedly in the works for the last 10, 12 years. When I heard about it, they said they're going to put salt brine into the Shibby River system. It's a tidal river. The tide at Sipekne'katik is still like this. This is stemming from the world's highest tides to be funded. The tide is still like this here. And the salt mixes all the way up to Milford. Adding more salt to it can only do one thing. Sterilize it. Think about it for a second. If you're going to clean a wound, especially in your mouth, you got an abscessed tooth or something like that, what's the first thing a doctor will tell you? Gargle with salt water. Those fish can't gargle. Can they? None of them can. but they have to live and swim through it and possibly die. I strongly suggest they will die. The environmental consultation not only lacks with our people in Sipekne'katik and at Millbrook, but it ignores the very people living around that site. So when we take on this fight to stop Alton Gas, we're not talking just about the Nigama people. We're talking about all the people living in that community. Aglasio, Ilnu. This doesn't differentiate when it comes to people. This will kill us either way. Us. Now, there's been an argument put forward that we need the energy storage for future generations. Holy moly. Germany right now, the whole country of Germany right now is 85% utilizing renewable energy. And they're doing quite well by it, thank you very much. There's been no lack of Volkswagens or Audis have there. Yet all those Audis and Volkswagens are made by renewable energy. What's renewable energy? Solar, wind. It doesn't harm the environment. It helps it. They've closed down every nuclear facility in Germany. And they're doing quite well by it, thank you very much. Ja, das ist gut. When we talk about these promises, too many times have we heard this, and this, and this, and this will be of no consequence to us. Well, perhaps there won't be any consequence to us, but it will be a consequence to my children, my grandchildren, and God willing, my great-grandchildren. I said God willing because if they keep up this nonsense here, my great-grandchildren may not have a chance to survive, or yours. This doesn't stop at Chibi. This doesn't stop in Truro. This affects all of us, the whole province. We have to stop this nonsense right now and look back and take care of our environment. We have too many Donald Trumps out there denying. Oh, it's not going to be any climate change. What climate change is happening right now, folks? It's right in front of our face. We just survived another crazy winter. And look at Montreal right now. Ottawa, got to know. Look at New England. It's climate change, folks. Look at the interior of British Columbia. Climate change. It's here, it's now. We have the capability of change. You have the capability in your hands to change. Make changes, make positive changes. Not just for me, but for yourselves and your children. We can do it. We are not ignorant, but they hope we are. When you get into that office up there, kick their butt. Change it. I know you already have one colleague up there that's doing her best. Colchester South, Salmon River. She's trying her best. She's alone. There's an organization called KMO. They were the ones that were hired to do this consultation, but they're not a part of Millbrook or Sipekne'katik. I have to make that point very clear. These are outside consultants that made decisions on our behalf without talking to us. Oh, I'm Indian. I'm Micmac. I could talk for the whole province. So you listen to me. And just me. No back talk. No, you don't go talking to him. You don't know what he's talking about. He's from Shubi. That's the attitude they gave us. I can't emphasize enough, though, how strongly opposed we are to this project, but also your commitment to Giju, Mother. We need your help. We desperately need your help to stop this nonsense. Not just with Alton Gas. They're putting up a mincer, making minced fish over in Bay of Fundy. They're trying to revive fracking any which way they can. There's a whole list of wrongs that we can make right. But we have to start someplace. And it starts with you. A lot of you. Thank you.
Is anyone else in here very warm?
Yes.
Let us open all the windows.
Padawalotio, in Delois, Dale Poulette, Apuigini, Ubamagi. My name is Dale Andrew Poulette, and I'm from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. I want to talk a little bit about Alton Gas, mostly about the research. But before I talk about that, I want to explain a little bit about the resistance and why I joined the resistance. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures of events I went to in 2013. I'm going to have to skip through a lot of these. Hold on. So anyway, in 2013, if anyone remembers the anti-shell gas protest in New Brunswick, Rexton, New Brunswick, well, I went up there to help them. I assisted with them when the RCMP, or better known as Blackwater, raided the Mi'kmaq protesters and allies to take out their equipment from the compounds that the protesters were blocking in. Well, anyway, they did something to those guys, the warriors and allies. It's called the smear campaign, where they set up 4 cop cars and they had them burnt. That was their way of getting into that compound and extracting their equipment. And things happened up there anyway. More allies showed up, more Mi'kmaq showed up. And okay, here's one of those pictures there. Now this is the picture here that made me get up and hitchhike all the way from Cape Breton to New Brunswick there, because I seen one of those elder women getting pepper sprayed by our CNP officers, which at the time I didn't know who they were, if they were RCMP or Blackwater, but I wanted to go and fight. So I went up there. I stayed there, got in trouble. Now I want to talk a little bit about, what's his name? Jim, what's his name?
What was I?
Dustin, there he is. Jim Dustin. He's the guy who did the Alton Gas science research. 2 years at the Sipekne'katik River. He studied that river, he studied the fishing there. He's a doctor, marine biologist. And he did the study for these Alton Gas corporate company. And the whole 2 years he was up there, he only caught 2 Tommy cod. And I went up there in September. I brought a fishing rod with me, and there was a couple donated traps, and I pulled out 40 Tommy cod in 2 hours. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Either that science is bought, or that guy don't know how to fish. He was in a butterfly net, for all I know. So it says a lot about these corporations that'll spend a lot of money just to get their way around here. And it'd be better if we had more First Nation academics taking the study, so we can get proper data, proper science on our own rivers and our own lakes and ponds, to prevent corporations from buying science from other people like Jim. So this is the truck house where I stayed all winter from September till early spring. I did just mostly fishing, then asserted my treaty rights, living there by the truck house, because it is in our treaty that we can set up a truck house anywhere along the river and make trade or catch food, and it's our right, so that's what we did. Allies donated a lot of that wood. Allies set it up. Mi'kmaq set it up with us, them, and I stayed there voluntarily. So when Alton created that channel, they made a mistake by creating that island, and we claimed it, because that's also part of our treaty that we can claim unceded Mi'kmaq territory and live here without being harassed. My friend Felix, I'm wearing a t-shirt that they made for him. He was a young man, 17-year-old. He helped us a lot. He stayed with me through the winter up there. And he learned a lot. He learned a lot about treaty and fishing and respect. And I miss the guy. But he went back home because he has priorities and he had to teach his family and be with his family. So we had a lot of gatherings. We had a lot of meals. And there was also something wrong with that science. When I looked at it myself, Alton Gas science there, it was missing fish. And there's one of the fishes right there, the sculpin, the sea raven, to be exact. And that's not even included on their science. And there I was pulling that out of my eel traps. So take that, Jim. Caught some eels. This is in January. Caught more Tommy cod. And just been doing a lot of fishing and measuring the fish. But I'm not an academic, so my science doesn't count. So I just want to encourage more First Nations to start getting involved with the academics and research on the fish and these river systems and spawning grounds. I took some nice photos of the eagles on the river here. And also my buddy Felix standing in the flood. This is at the truck house, by the way. Floods there a lot. Like I said, I talked about smear campaigns. I can't prove it, but we had an incident where a young man named Sean Devenport got carbon monoxide poisoning, and I was just lucky enough to be there middle of the night and witness what happened. So I went and I called 911 and I asked for help. I said, I think the guy's having a heart attack or something. And I told the operator, I says, I'm not allowed to cross the fence or they're going to charge me, because the security were ready to charge us if we crossed that blue fence. They had their little shack there, if you can see. It was foggy morning now. So we had that shack, our Treaty Truckhouse just on the other side of this fence. So when I witnessed that boy collapse, I took it upon myself to get help from one of my friends here, Trish, who helped us with her cell phone, and another one named Paula Isaac, who had her cell phone, and we were all struggling with battery life. We had no battery in our phones. So we ended up assisting him, and first thing we noticed was a generator was like inches from the building, with the exhaust pointing at a little tiny hole that went inside that building. And I didn't think much of it at first, but then their radio went off and they said that they sent the ambulance to the back gate. They have a front gate where they got full access to that little shack of theirs, but instead they sent them to the back gate where there's no way they could get inside. So what I did, I opened that fence by force. I ripped it open and I stomped down another one. There was a second fence there, and eventually we got them out and all that. And I decided to charge my phone a bit and wait, stay up rest of the night and wait for these guys to close this fence. So when that happened, I took out my phone and I used my phone as a weapon. I fight fire with fire. So I went up to them and I recorded them and I asked them, I said, what happened here? And they told us. They said, oh, we had an incident. Young man, he got sick and he fell down. And I asked them, I said, who called 911? And they said, oh, you guys. I said, us? Yeah, okay, thank you. So I waited a day or two and they released, Alton Gas released a statement saying that they called 911 and that the boy didn't suffer from carbon monoxide poisoning. So I knew right there that was a smear campaign. Either they tried to set him up and try to make us look bad as protesters to get our camp shut down, or that was just an accident. But I posted that video on YouTube, and then I was getting phone calls next day left and right by Sean. Anyway, here's pictures of the mud now. You can see Felix there standing on mud. That's got to be well over 15 to 20 feet of mud buildup in that channel. And these guys, once again, they come here saying that this is going to work when it only took 2 months for this mud to fill up. So what does that say about their science? Again, it's wrong. It's not right. I've been helping out people in Parsbro about the turbines. That's another issue that we've got to deal with, because those fish, that ocean fish that come to these spawning grounds, have to come through the certain spot where these turbines are cutting them off, blocking them from entering, and it hurts them a lot, damages the fish, not only because they're getting chopped up from that grinder, but all fish have this thing called lateral lines, and they're real sensitive to electricity. So imagine these massive tidal turbines, these generators underground in the ocean. Fish have to get past them. They will get shocked, or they will feel some effects from this. So I've been trying to help these guys at the same time, and got a few plans for that. And last but not least, here's the main reason why I resist, why I fight these corporations today, and I'll probably continue fighting them until we beat them. But it is our responsibility as treaty people, because we all are treaty people, to protect our water, protect our land, protect nature itself. We all are responsible for that, so we must work together as allies and First Nations. Walalia, Sinogama.
you guys mind if I sit down? My back hurts. Robin's gonna do the slides. We just use the same slides.
Okay. Start at the beginning?
Sure.
Oh, special. While I'm fiddling, this is Michelle Paul speaking.
Oh.
Michelle is a treaty rights holder and
Grassroots.
grassroots fighter who has totally won over my heart. Oh.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's a really good crowd, and it's nice to see everybody here. I'm just gonna have Robin randomly stop when I see a picture that kind of strikes a pose in my mind. A few things I want to mention. I kind of wanted to take you through a chronological, how the Truckhouse came to be. How many people are familiar with Alton Gas and the Treaty Truckhouse? Show of hands. Okay, I kind of figured that. So we do have some pictures here, so it's good that we have the pictures because I wanted to kind of go with the flow and just kind of tell you how it came to be. As Robin mentioned, it's been a few years now that we've been fighting this, and as Alan mentioned, the project itself has been kind of in happening now for at least 10 years, I guess you could say. In conception, yeah, for 10 years or so. I'll tell you from my perspective, when I got involved, it's been several years. I've been involved in different capacities, from shutting highways down to protesting in the streets to actually jumping over the dike and bringing wood over and building a truck house. So at the grassroots level, that's been my involvement. And it's not been just me, it's been everybody you see here, and it's been people who are actually in the crowd right now who've helped build the truck house, who've helped raise money for the truck house, who've actually brought their children to the truck house. So none of this could have happened without the help of many people. And I want to make that very clear. And I also want to extend that by saying none of this can continue without the help of many people. So I also want to, before I tell you, how the truck house came to be, I also want to talk a little bit about water. Usually our grandmother, Doreen Bernard, is here, and she kind of talks about water, and water is sacred, water is life. You see that on the signs, and we know that, but I really want to talk about the teachings. I guess it starts when you really have to feel that teaching. As a woman, we are life givers. And I guess when I became a mother, I guess that really, the impact really, it really hit me. I'm a mother now, I'm a life giver now. I'm responsible for another life. Also, when I met Grandmother Josephine Mandeman, I don't know if anybody has heard of Grandmother Josephine. She's the grandmother who walked around the Great Lakes to bring awareness of water. Yeah, she's also on a water walk right now as we speak. And there's going to be a delegation of people from Mi'kma'ki here to join her at the end of the month or the end of June, coming up anyhow, and we need some help with that as well. So when I joined her in Matin a few years ago in Quebec, I was honored to do ceremony with her and to learn some ceremonies from her and receive some teachings on water and why we do the things we do and how we do them. And basically, it's simple. There's no recipe for water. It's that simple. When water's gone, that's it. From water is life. Without water, there is no life. It's just that simple. So if we allow them to destroy our water, we have no life. We have no future. And as Alan mentioned, this is for the great-grandchildren and the children and so forth. And I want to be a grandmother someday. So I hope that by me fighting to protect the water, I hope that sets an example for my daughter. And hopefully I get to be a grandmother someday. And hopefully my daughter and hopefully my grandchildren will remember that I stood up for these things. So I just wanted to say that before I tell you about the truck host. So as I remember, my daughter and I were at the Mi'kmaq Summer Games, and she was crushing it. She was getting gold medal after gold medal. Got the phone call, and I was told by Nora, Joe's daughter, you got to come to Shuby. The elders getting disrespected. The elders praying by the river and trying to be arrested. And it was ding ding. My phone was going off, and I'm like, what? And I'm all the ways in Unamagi and Cape Breton, and this is happening in Shuby, and like that's a long drive. And like I said, my daughter was getting gold medals, so I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Of course I have to leave, right? So this was in the summertime around August, and I knew what I had to do. I had to go. So we left. We go to the river, find out what happened, and we had 5 different stories, but the real truth was Doreen was at the river praying. And they said she can't be there. And can you flash to the dike, just to show you? She had a picture up there about that shows. We called it a dike, but it's like a hill. It's a dike. These are some of you can see my daughter in some of these pictures. And this is when we shut the highway down and camped out. Okay, you see. So you see, if you can point for me, please. This is, okay, that's not it, but that's the dike right there that you just swirled. Yeah, okay. And down at the end here, there's a road that we came off on the main highway, and down the end here is where we were bringing all of our supplies, because this is before the fence was there, this is the very beginning. And we were saying, we're going over there to pray, we're going over there. And they had 3 little security guards with their little yellow jackets, and they were saying no. And we're like, we don't hear no, So we were like, and all down there's all these bushes and stuff. So we were abiding by them. We were listening. We were going around and carrying big, long pieces of wood, women. And my little girl's over there. We were carrying big pieces of wood, every supply that we had, all the way around that dike, and all the way down to where the truck hose is now. We were doing it. We did it for at least an hour. And finally, I said, no, we're not doing it. No. Pulled up, we had the treaties like a scroll. It was just like you would see on a movie. We said, and we videoed it and everything. Number 4, just like what Dale said, if the Indians shall decide, they should have a truck hose. We can quote it, right? And these 3 little security guards come down and say, no, you can't watch us. So we all, like ants, just like ants carrying crumbs, walked over this dike. And it was like women and kids, and it was, that's how the truck host began. And we kept doing it. And then we kept going on Facebook Live and saying, we need more wood, we need more food, we need this, we need that. And all of the people, everybody kept bringing it. Soon we had piles of firewood, we had piles of wood, we had nails, we had tarps, we had cheers, we had this, we had it all. And that's how it happened until you see the truck house. And then you see those steps. The steps are very cool. They started digging. First they were digging, and the steps were just mud. And then all of a sudden we had real steps and real railings. And so this is what happens when community comes together. And this is what happens when you assert your treaty rights. And you see where the triangle is, that's the teepee. That's Treaty Island, what Dale was talking about, what we claimed. Because what happened was, we fundraised money for a boat, because we had to get over to Treaty Island. And why we had to get over to Treaty Island was, we ended up going over there and throwing 7 eel traps. Why the 7 eel traps? Well, really, that's what we had that day. But it ended up being, I'm just honest, but Creator makes no mistakes, because there's 7 districts in Mi'kmaq, right? There's 7 districts in Mi'kmaq. And Robin can go back and show you that, I'm not lying, there is 7 districts, but we did have 7, we did, right? And so 7 of us threw them over, eel traps over there, and it happened that there was 7 of us from different districts. He's from Unamagi, you know, we had Sipekne'katik, you see? And Alan can pronounce him. So it, you know, creator makes no mistakes. So we pitched our eel traps over, you know, because we were asserting our treaty rights. And then, you know, them security guards with their X on their fluorescent yellow uniforms, they're just like this now. They had nothing to say. Because we were asserting our treaty rights. And even the RCMP, they kept saying, we're calling the police. Call them, we know them. They're our friends. Because they knew we were asserting our treaty rights. And that's the takeaway from today. Because what was said here at the very beginning is we are on unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Alan told you, peace and friendship treaties were to stop war. Not an ounce of land was given up. We did not submit. Don't listen to Cameron. We're not a conquered people. Right? We're not a conquered people. Proof. My shirt even says it, does it?
We're still here.
Right? We are still here. And we showed them that. We showed this company that. That's why the project isn't moving anywhere. And it's not going to move anywhere as far as I'm concerned. So that's where we're at today. Also, I want to speak on a couple key words that are kind of circulating in the air. You know, one's called reconciliation. Another one of my favorite ones, is decolonization. Because that's where we're at right now. Decolonization. And that's where all of our friends, our allies, you really have to dig inside your heart and your mind, and you have to really, really think, which side of history do I want to be on? Because once you know the history, and I'm presuming that most of you here know the history now. I'm presuming that you know about residential schools. Am I right to presume that? I see a lot of heads nodding, right? I'm presuming that you know about residential schools. You at least know that you're on unceded Mi'kmaq territory. And I know that most of you are probably property tax payers, right? You're landowners, right? Am I right? A lot of you are, right? You're paying taxes to a government who's collecting taxes on unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Let that go through your mind. You know something called Aboriginal title? Who has title to the land? We do. Who's collecting taxes? They are. Just think, I'm going to leave it there, right? I'm not going to go any further, but just let that marinate in your mind for a minute, right? Think about the justice or the injustice in that statement. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger, right? So, then think about reconciliation, right? And think about decolonization. So, and I see the man running for NDP, he's shaking his head. So, sir, the onus is upon you to bring those very concepts forward. Eh? I think you feel me. Okay. I think so. I think I could really just end it there.
Sure.
How about that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
When Macaulay talks about decolonization and talks about unceded territory, the only territory that Mi'kmaq people ever gave up was a tiny square of land here in Annapolis called Port Royal. That land is the only land we ever gave up. They gave it to France. Last year, or just a couple months ago actually, we were in Vigny, France, World War I battlefield. During that ceremony, the Prime Minister of France recognized that territory in our behalf. Thanked us for that territory and thanked us for our involvement, our volunteered involvement in the world wars. Our people, my Uncle Pat is buried over there. Cousin Peter Maloney is buried in Vimy. We have people, my stepfather rather, served in the United States Canadian Air Force. We have stood up with you in each and every war. We stood by your side, protecting this territory. This territory, Mi'kmaq, Canada. I served as the United States Navy corpsman, Vietnam. I turned out the lights in Saigon, literally. I was our third last aircraft to leave the Republic of South Vietnam. My pilot had to change his flight manifest because of aviation law from Vietnam to Guam. Now I fought next to you guys. Now I'm asking you to fight next to me now.
Oh.
To continue to protect Mi'kmaq. It's our territory, not our Micmac. You live here too. And as much as my responsibility, that place is now yours as well. Don't give up on us. Don't give up on me, don't give up on your grandchildren either. Because we need your help to stop this nonsense. Climate change is real, it's upon us. Stopgap measures like the Alton Gas and that fish grinding thing we have over here is not going to work. But we see examples around the world that do work without harming the environment. Look at Spain. Look at Germany. And of all places, that rainy place called Britain. They're changing over too. Even though they have the North Sea feeding them. They're changing into renewables as well. Thanks to Prince Charles. It's good for something. Any questions?
Well, before we go to questions, actually, do you want to add anything that's been said? I do want to add one thing, and I wrote it on my phone so I wouldn't forget. The thing that I was going to say is, in case you're not already convinced this is a terrible project rooted in colonial values that are awful, I do want to touch back on the complete incompetence of Alton Gas so far. People have popped up with these issues that Alton Gas has had so far, and I just want to bring them all together into one glorious story of incompetence. They originally proposed 4 caverns, and they've already canceled 2. They won't tell us why. They said that one of them was too close to the edge of their property, and it's how did you not look at a map 10 years ago and realize that it was too close to the edge of your property? What are you talking about? So I have a complete lack of faith that they know what they're doing in terms of the placement of the caverns and the quality of the salt that they're drilling into. They probably maybe caused one of their security guards to get carbon monoxide poisoning outside this thing is outside. It's not a building, it's just a large building. It's like, they just pointed their generator in the wrong direction and the guy passed out. So like, that's incredible to me. They didn't realize that the engineering of the river channel was gonna fill with mud. They didn't think that anyone would care that their consultation was complete crap. Like, they completely underestimated what they were getting themselves into and the community that they were fighting against. And so I just want to stress that, like, this company's not trustworthy. And I think they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes because we don't have very good environmental policy in Nova Scotia at this time. So that will be my final word. I think we can open it up for, oh, yeah.
I wanted to say something else, two things actually, about consultation, just to add to what Alan had said. I just want you guys to know, to add to what Alan had said, the Native community wasn't consulted, what they considered consultation, because there's a difference between the Indian Act bands and the actual rights holder. That's why I call myself a rights holder, because although I am a band member to an Indian Act band, the Indian Act itself is part of federal legislation. And all of us here actually are part of different bands, you know? But independently, we're all rights holders to treaty, you know?
Beatles.
Right? So in saying that, as a rights holder, we all have a right to be consulted. Right? Even though Sipekne'katik and Millbrook opted out of the KMK organization that he spoke of, the ones who were as a legal entity or as an organization, or the Assembly of Chiefs who were consulted, nonetheless, as a rights holder, I wasn't consulted, and I still have a say as a rights holder. So I just want to clear that up, and it is confusing, and I'm sure it's confusing even to government. You know, who do we talk to? Who do we consult with in the Native community, right? But those are things that we do need to very quickly rectify, because these are our rights and we're very serious about it, you know? And more so, it's water. Water is life. I said that. We can't live without water. So we all have to be very, very clear that, you know, we're not going to play around with this. And I feel the energy in this room that you guys are serious about this too. No more. I heard I think Robin told me that you guys are dealing with a similar issue with your water as well. Yeah, like, no, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They got to get it in their head. We're not playing around no more. So I want to say that about the consultation. And then I want to leave you with this nice, sweet story that really did happen on Treaty Island. On Treaty Island, the island that healed, where the river healed itself, when we were going over in the boat, it was a few women. Were you there?
Might have.
Maybe. A few of us, we were loaded down in the boat. We all had on our rubber boots, and we were going over to throw a trap, or in any case, we were going over there, and, you know, it was rough. I think it was mist and rain. It was a rough ride. Water was rough. We were almost falling out the boat, and we weren't complaining, but I guess maybe we were kind of thinking, man, this is rough. We're really doing it, you know. And in any case, we got out the boat. I think my boot came off, and we were really, it was rough, okay? It was rough. I'm a city girl. It was rough. But as soon as we got out of the boat, someone said, look right there. And it was an eagle feather. It was like this big. It was a beautiful eagle feather. And it just kind of brought us back to the moment that we're doing the right thing. Huh?
It was floating in the water, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. And it grounded us, and it reminded us that, yeah, the ancestors are with us, and we're doing the right thing. And we tied it onto the pole that we put a sign over on Treaty Island that says protected Mi'kmaq area, and it still hangs there today. And so we prayed and everything. So I want you to know that everything that we do there, it's rooted in prayer. And you've seen the picture from Elsie Bookduk, Amanda Polt just holding the feather up. We root everything in prayer. And I know and I feel in my heart that we already won this, because we've been doing this in prayer all the way. So I ask you for your prayers as well.
So I think we can take questions. I'll put away this contraption so we can all sort of see each other. And for anyone on the live stream, I'll talk loud. If you want to post questions to the Facebook event, we can look at them and ask about that. So, any questions?
Go ahead.
What can I do to help fight Alton Gas?
What a great question.
On Facebook, we have Stop Alton Gas. That's a pretty easy one. But I don't know how many people in the crowd are actually on Facebook or on social media for that matter. So we also have an email account, treatytruckhouse@gmail.com. Some people prefer to use email. And if you don't like email, we also have Grassroots Grandmothers account at Royal Bank. We're going to be creating one specifically for the truck house because we've been using the Grassroots Grandmother account for, you see the lady who asked the question, she has the water walk shirt on. We did the water walk, and I have on, this is a gift from the grandmother from the water walk, a little pail bucket, because when we do the water walk, we carry the water in a metal bucket. And that's from the last water walk. So we used all the donations to go in the Grassroots Grandmother account, so we want to divide it. So we're hoping to get a specific account just for the truck house, but we don't have it yet. So for now, Grassroots Grandmother account at Royal Bank. And she can answer as well.
Yeah, on June 4th, which is coming up, there is going to be a work party day at the truck house because the winter was rough on our poor little truck house. So we're going to clean it up, maybe put some new shingles on, clean up the garbage, and prepare the site for a summer of action, which I hope you'll all join us for. There's some handouts on the back table outside, so that has all the information about the June 4th thing, but at the same time as that work party, or on the same day rather, we're also going to have a Peace and Friendship Alliance meeting, which is a group of Mi'kmaq and settler folks who are working together on all kinds of things, like Alton Gas included, so we'd invite all of you to come on that day to join us.
I want to say something else. A big way to help is to call people like the man sitting in the back. He's running for election. What's your name, sir?
Mark Bria. Mark Bria.
Mark Bram. Him?
Bria.
You're for NDP? Okay, there's a red guy, a blue guy, and a green guy too here in the area. Find out who they are and hound them. And tell them about Alton Gas. And tell them, how much you love your water. Clean water at that, and so on and so forth. And your mayor and, all the elected officials, just keep hounding them and tell them how important. Is that what you were going to say?
Yes.
Great minds think alike. And not just tell them, not just phone calls, but paper trail. Write a letter. And if you're not good at writing a letter, there's people in the crowd who are. There's at least one or two of you over here who are good at writing. So get someone to do it, and then just write one, and then just write, take the name and just, write the same letter type of thing. And just putting it in, and do it all the ways up to Trudeau and the fisheries minister. Because you know what? We took over the fisheries minister's office. I forgot to say that. That was fun that day. Remember that? We took over Fram's office. And they bought us pizza and everything. We did that.
Yes, back there.
Bill, I'm just wondering, are you still staying at the truck house, or have you gone home? or-
Past couple of weeks I've been working my butt off and trying to get a teepee so I don't have to deal with the flooding anymore, but in and out, you
And you
could
still
say.
always need supplies and stuff there too,
I
right?
could use it, yeah.
Firewood.
It helps firewood. I got firewood now, but right now as the truck house needs attention, need more shingles, like she said, shingles, nails, tar paper.
Solar panel.
And the solar panel would be awesome, but we need to
would love
fundraise
it.
for that.
Yeah, so I'll make the shameless pitch that if you can make it on the 4th of June, please do. And if you can't, feel free to open your wallet and give us your money, because we need to buy all kinds of things for the truck house. We're always needing gas money to get people around to different things. It's amazing to me that we've gone so far in this little movement with just the kindness and generosity of people and our neighbors. So if you want to make a donation while you're here today, feel free, and the money will go straight to the Grassroots Grandmothers, who are a group of elders who sort of run show. So feel free. I'll be at the back table, and I'll be happy to extract cash from your wallet. Several
Anyone over here?
questions.
I was just gonna ask if you could maybe set up an Amazon wish list for the Treaty Truckhouse with things like
We-
your
we-
solar and generators. Yeah, you've got one?
We do that from time to time on the Stop Alton Gas page. Usually when the good weather hits, we have like events and gatherings and things, and we let people know what we need, it's an ongoing effort. Right now, the biggest thing we were fundraising for was the solar panel. But as Dale was living there most of the winter, he needed things. He needed firewood. He needed to be warm. First, yeah, he needed water, and he needed the stove, and he needed supplies. So the money, and we do have a GoFundMe page still, but I'll be honest with you, they're expensive. They're greedy. They take money. So every time you get like money, they take a percentage, and so I took the money out of it and I put it in the grassroots grandmother account because they don't take money from me. The bank account doesn't, so I'm not gonna tell you to give the GoFundMe account because I just don't.
You had a question?
I'm trying to understand this truck house, like where the name came from. I gather that it is your where the activities or where the planning and all of that. I'm sort of getting that sense from it, but it's a new term to me. So is there a truck house? Where does it come from?
Back when we first drew up the treaties, a lot of people were being ripped off by unscrupulous traders here in Halifax. And so we needed a central area between Sipekne'katik and here where we can gather and get a fair price for our furs and what have you. That lasted approximately 20 years. Now, truck comes from the Old English word to carry. Okay, to truck out. And that's how that word originated. Unfortunately, too, though, that truck house that they set up, and I think it was in Emsdale or Enfield area, they also used it as a bootlegging place, and that's what killed off a lot of people. Started introducing whiskey and things of that nature. But to truck something is to carry something.
So now you're constructing, like you've got this building constructed.
Now we're trying to carry on our rights
Yeah.
and
So-
yours.
It's a symbolism.
In the province then?
Not right now,
If that's the
just the
goal?
one right now.
Is that the goal? Or?
Well, we can if we want to. Right now, the takeaway right now is we're asserting our treaty rights. That's what we're doing. And the goal, what the province should do, sir, hi, you listening? What you can do is you can go back when you get elected. I hope you get elected because I want you to take the message. The message is this: enforce treaty, implement treaty. It's not an archaic law. It's an existing law. It is. I'm not lying. It's an existing law. So implement it, enforce it, because we're asserting it.
Also, while you're doing that, can you do us a favor? I like my hair.
Take that scalping law off the books.
Okay. There's a law still on the books.
Yeah. 'Cause I ain't cut mine. We love our hair.
There's a law still on the books that says this scalp,
Is worth
don't get no
10
ideas.
cents. What is it?
This scalp is worth money.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah, take that off.
But then again,
We're kind of picking on you, but we need your help. We do. And we need everybody's help.
go ahead.
In all of this. It's all of our water.
Go ahead.
You, Alan,
Yes,
Peter, you made some really good points there
that's it.
about in Europe how they have replaced energy sources with renewable energy and solar and things like that. And I've read a lot about that, and I think that's a very good, very important point. It's incumbent on us to stop using fossil fuels and gas that drive this kind of thing. And it's not, instead of going to war with oil and gas, we should be reconciling with ourselves to, correct our own ways. We're the consumer. We're the ones who keep it going.
Well, like I keep on telling my colleague, we have to make small steps.
Yeah, but you're doing it in the right direction, doing the right thing. But those are very good ideas. I just want to say that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think, can I say something?
But they have to build.
I think that it is critically important that everybody do what they can in their own life to live sustainable lives as much as possible. But I think it's also really important to recognize that the fossil fuel industry for like 100 years has removed options from people to live sustainable lives. Like, for example, public transportation in most of North America used to be based on mostly rail, like streetcars and stuff like that. But the gasoline industry bought out most of the streetcar infrastructure, which was run on electricity, which could eventually be powered quite easily sustainably. They replaced all of those with buses so that they could sell them gasoline and sell them tires. And so things like this, like there's a deep, deep infiltration of the fossil fuel industry into every aspect of our culture. And so I think while it is absolutely important to like, get solar panels if you can, turn off the GD lights, like don't drive if you can get away with it, but also recognize that some of these things are far beyond our individual actions, and what is absolutely critically needed are these collective actions, like to stop these fossil fuel projects from happening, to demand better things from our government and so forth. So like, we should do what we can, but we shouldn't beat ourselves up when those options aren't provided to us or available by any stretch of the imagination. So I'll just make the obvious pitch for collective action as far more effective and needed than individual guilt.
First, I'm going to say Dale's my little brother, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but I'm very proud of you. And he has our father's genes. They wouldn't have got money from my scalp. But just a statement, then just kind of a question. I don't understand why, maybe this is oversimplifying things, but I don't understand why large companies, oil companies, don't just become energy companies. I mean, if you're natural gas or oil or whatnot, if you change to geothermal or solar power or wind, like that's if you just become an energy company, not necessarily gas, but you can change to whatever you really want. You make lots of money. I don't know.
Can I just say something on Alton Gas? Alton Gas actually is connected to wind turbines and stuff like that. But see, it's a monopoly. It's all the greed, right?
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So there's kind of are.
Alton Gas is just one little part here. It's under Alta Gas, which also is connected to companies all across, including power plants in California and other places, actually other countries, and a lot of things, a lot of places. The oil is not all here, and they do on utility companies and things like that, so it's greed.
Yeah, I guess it's
further answer your question, the only
earth that we only have one, right?
the only large oil company out there that is trying to make a transition is Exxon. That when they bought out Mobil and started Sable Gas, they started to what's the word? Divulge or divest. They're starting. I think they recognize the fact that renewables is where the money is. But then again, I am not saying that you should buy stock. And I'm just saying that there's one making the effort.
Oh, that's good.
One.
And kind of like my question is, because like I was brought up here, actually this is my grade 2 classroom. I spend most of my time in the corner back there. But I know like I go fishing on this river by the drugstore, and I live in Bridgewater now and the Lahey River. But it doesn't take a lot to change a river. I remember they took a culvert in a few years ago, and now you can't really catch any fish of any size in that river. The smallest little changes to a river system changes everything drastically. And I used to pick, get 15, 16-inch trout every once in a while. Most of them were a lot smaller. But out of this river, and then I couldn't get any. What damage has been done in the Sipekne'katik River from Alton Gas? Because even just doing, like where all the silt's building up, what kind of damage?
Well, the damage to the silt itself isn't detrimental, because the Sipekne'katik River from Milford to Maitland is a natural silt-filled river. However, the pH change when they add the brine to it and the other minerals will go up exponentially. There we go. Like another English
They
word.
mentioned something about PPT, parts per thousand, and they say that 28 parts per thousand won't harm the larvae or the eggs, But from my experience in Alberta, Fort McMurray, that we learn parts per million, ppm, that even 100 ppm will be just enough to make you unconscious and brain dead. So when they want to put in the brine, they're going to put in 38 to 300. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but
The exact number is 64 parts per thousand. That's
54,
what they're
that's
supposed to
5 times, 6
And then
times stronger.
the mixing channel is supposed to dilute it to approximately seawater, but it's a freshwater estuary.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
so that'll, I don't get it. It's just not right. It's too much for the fish to handle.
So I think we can do one more question and then hang out in the hallway for
Sure.
a while.
In terms of the fight against the company, I'm wondering where you feel you're at this point. Like, is the company, are you aware of them feeling any pressure? Is the hope that you're
They're just
building
as
that?
arrogant as day one. In fact, they were at my band's council and tried desperately to bribe my band with money. In fact, 2 of my counselors, one of whom I literally kicked his ass this morning.
literally.
Literally. With this foot. I told him, what in God's name are you doing? I said it a little more eloquently, though. I said, why voted you in to me, my voice? What in the hell were you trying to do, trying to get money out of that company over there? And who the hell do you think you are telling them what we need money when we're trying to fight them all the time? Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle. Well, you better be GD sorry. And just get the GD out of my GD face right now, because otherwise I'll kick you again. Tim never. That's what's going on. So the arrogance hasn't changed one iota. However, what has changed is my anger. It's going up. I have a secret though. While my anger is going up, my blood pressure is going right down. See, the trick here is keep smiling. Really, keep smiling. Because they don't know what the hell you're up to.
So I think we should wrap up the formal part of this, but I think there's going to be
Could you-
time to eat quite. Okay.
Hi, I'm Chief Gritty Mama from British Columbia. I'm second generation of residential school, and I've been in trauma for 30 years of my life. And the one they say water is life, the damage they done to the water inside of my body has literally brought me into a wheelchair, suicide, through the trauma I've been through, mental emotional damage. When I went to the river, when I first came here in 2001, I felt that I needed to be here, but I had to go home back to BC. But eventually I came here 3 years ago, and I was in a wheelchair. The that I've never wanted. Psychiatrist said I'll never get over my trauma, and the mental state and the emotional state that what we do at the Truckhouse is we do ceremonies, like pipe ceremonies. We do sweat lodges, we do smudges, we do prayer, yes. And it's not all about the Truckhouse, it's about healing our people and healing from the genocide that the government had put on our people. Canada is not even a country. It's not a country, it's a big ass company that's damaging our people and it's seeping into the other people. It doesn't matter what color, race, age, or whatever you believe in, it's gonna get you. Cancer will get you. Suicide will get you. Something will get you that the government impact on us. And through going through the river, for me, is a healing process that I'm walking today. I don't have the nightmares that I used to have, like on a daily basis. That's why I don't sleep. I sleep 6 hours a day now, and I'm so proud of that because I program myself not to sleep. Because of the people at the Sipekne'katik River brought me there and said, this is where you need to be. You are our family. And I come from BC. And they invited me to their home, their territory, and said, Grizzly Mama, you were sick from genocide. We're going to help you, whether you believe it or not. I don't have cancer anymore. I don't have, I still have PTSD. I still have a lot of pain in my body. But with the process that I'm going through, I know I will get over the things that I've been through. And it's not only me. I've seen a lot of people in the trauma unit that I go to. And I see a lot of damage that's done by the government. And it's not just natives there. There's all kinds of people there. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table, that water is life because the Creator has brought it to us. I'm 65% water, and I bet you guys are too.
There's some snacks out there. Feel free to mingle and chat. Can you talk to your thing? Can you do your thing in the hallway? I just want to let people go.
I lost my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
These are real
I lost it.
Where'd you get the pussy?
Those are for you.
Oh my gosh, I wanted pussy willows.
Pussy widows in the water.
Where'd you find those?